Oh, you're feeding the kids.
But here's
you're
the
supposed
thing.
to be eating the kids.
We're going to learn
turn this all around. Welcome to the edge of nowhere. Games at the edges of what we know. Monster Lore Tour Podcast. All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 77. That sounds lucky. Of the Monster Lore Tour Paranormal Deep Dives from the Edge of Nowhere podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Carr, here along with my co-host and the Lenny to my Squiggy.
Nice.
Mr. Matt O0, a.k.a. the Moz. How we doing today, Moz?
No complaints.
I figured the Lenny and Squiggy was in your time frame.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
And you know why you're Lenny and I'm Squiggy?
Because I'm the Christopher guest host.
Yeah, pretty close. Because Lenny is in Spinal Tap. And I know you love Spinal Tap.
It's true.
And this is episode 77. And that is 7 times 11, which is Spinal Tap.
Wow. I would have never gotten the math part of that, which is why I went with his name.
Yeah.
But I'm not really a guest either.
You can't do 7 times 11?
No, I would have never re-engineered that mathematically to come up with Spinal Tap.
Yeah.
I don't think I would have done that.
It's the lucky Spinal Tap episode.
Yeah.
So you get to be Christopher Guest /
It's the bigger
Lenny
boss Spinal Tap.
/ the leader of Spinal Tap.
Because this amp goes to a 77.
Yeah. This podcast now goes to 77.
There you go.
And I'm pretty sure they need a drummer. Oh, wait. Is that too soon? I forget that's a real thing now.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah, sorry, everybody. Yeah. But also I did that because Lenny and Squiggy were the two weirdos always trying to get into other people's houses. And they kind of remind me of today's topic, what professional paranerdalists like ourselves and our listeners would refer to as BEKs. But in full known as the Black-Eyed Kids.
So you do Becks?
Ooh, Becks. Yeah. It's always said anagrammatically. It's BEKs. It's like UFO.
We don't have to follow the lead. We could because look, if one kid comes to the door, it's an Ein Becks, that's a beer, or Beck's beer. You got Zwei kids at the door, you got a Zweibeck. If we get a 6-pack, Bone will show up, like magically.
Yeah. Bonefoot.
Soon as there's 6 kids at the door, 6-pack.
Alex Bonefoot. Anywho, yes, the Black-Eyed Kids. But before we get started down that road today, do we have any old business here, Maz?
We do. Chiron, like you were right. When I think I gave you like partial credit saying if there's anyone allowed into Olympus that's part animal, because we decided Pan was, and I was wondering, is there any other ones that get kind of past the bouncers up there in Olympus as a part animal? You said centaur, and I thought, if that might, it's in the back of my mind,
the noblest.
Well, they're the tutors, so they're not from there, but they do teach, so they're allowed to kind of come and go in that capacity. Yeah. So they work for apples too.
Yeah, and looking it up, Chiron was himself a centaur and was not a resident of Olympus, but was invited there like an honored guest kind of position. Yeah. He was known as Wise and Honorable Chiron.
So well done, sir.
So yeah, kind of looped everything back together there from that episode.
Yep.
Episode 76 preceding this one. Okay, is that it? I think that's it for the old business. All right, everybody, take a quick moment to hit all those happy little fun buttons on whatever platform you're on, the subscribes and likes and shares and bell ringings, whatever it may be. And we will move on into today's topic of the Black-Eyed Kids. So you can find a lot of lore and general conversation about the black-eyed kids on the interwebs these days. Reddit is a good source, and all the paranormal kind of sites have gotten their 2 cents in on the subject kind of thing. It's one of those newer things everybody gets to come up with their own theory on. And I guess...
Not that new.
It's
90s.
Reasonably. I mean, it's not UFOs and vampires and stuff.
That's
you know,
true.
It's not...
The edge of the Reddit
The
realms.
internet existed when these guys came around.
Gotcha.
We'll get more into that later. But today, Maz and I guess, are throwing our penny a piece into the pot today.
Mazel tov.
Do you have your copper pieces for the ferryman to get across the river, Maz?
Wait, we did Chiron, now we're doing Charon? I mean, we're making a... Yeah.
It's only one
interesting
letter off. It's kind of odd. Charon and Chiron, you know?
There you go.
Where was I?
You had gold pieces under your eyes, and you're being ferried off to the land of the dead.
Sounds about right.
That's what we do on a Tuesday.
But as I said, you can find a lot on the internet about this stuff. But I'm a big book guy. You know, it's part of what makes me a paranerdalist. So my primary source for this episode is actually a book by Mr. Zachary Knowles titled simply Real Black-Eyed Kids. It's the most comprehensive collection of black-eyed kids encounter stories.
This isn't domestic violence related. I hope we're not going there.
I know. It's got a bad ring to it, doesn't
terrible
it? I try to ignore the
real
fact.
black-eyed kids.
Yeah. Their eyeballs are black. There's no abuse in this episode at all.
Yeah.
Just please know that.
Yeah. I do like a lot of their songs.
Who?
The Black-Eyed Kids. Isn't that a band?
The Black Keys. Oh, the Black-Eyed Peas?
Yeah, there you go.
The Black-Eyed Peas are the Black Keys.
Yeah.
If you put them together,
I actually really do like the Black Keys. Black-Eyed Peas.
If you got the Black-Eyed Pea Keys, you could have the BEP case.
Wow. But we're getting away from the beer part. I like
That'd be an interesting fusion of sounds, actually. Now I kind of want to hear it.
Nice.
Good Lord, where am I, Moss?
Being ferried to the dead with coins.
Zachary Knowles' book. There you go. It is the most comprehensive collection of black-eyed kids encounter stories I could find in actual print. But most of the stories in there you'll, I think, find around the internet. He's got the famous ones. He's got some obscure ones. He had a few in there that I had never heard before. So great source if you just want to get it all at once. The Real Black-Eyed Kids from Mr. Zachary Knowles. It'll save you a lot of searching through the interwebs to try to find them all separately. So we'll go through a number of those plus some other sources and then some more and more stories in the side trail following. But anywho, let's get properly into it then. We start with a tale from a teen named Tyrone. I just can't help it with the alliteration sometimes, Ma. You want to start off by reading this one for us, Ma?
Tyrone liked to wander around the neighborhood at night, telling his mother he was staying at a friend's when he was really just prowling around, bored and fidgety. One particular evening, when it was cool enough for him to be wearing a hoodie, Tyrone was walking restlessly as usual when he saw a pair of rather young children come out of the wooded area next to his neighborhood. Intrigued, he decided to follow them while staying back a safe distance and trying to walk quietly. They appeared to be a young girl and a boy, both about 8 or 9 years old. Tyrone was trying to figure out why little kids would be walking around after midnight by themselves, especially since they had come out of the woods. He'd never seen them before in his neighborhood. They seemed to know where they were going, however, and were very intent on whatever it was they were doing. Suddenly the little boy stopped at the edge of the street, and the girl continued walking until she was standing right in the middle of the road. Suddenly a car came around the corner, headed straight for the little girl.
Dun, dun, dun.
Tyrone took off running with all his might, fueled by adrenaline, and grabbed the little girl. With her secure in his arms, he jumped to safety at the side of the road. As the car sped off honking, he looked down at the girl. He could instantly tell she was very angry with him, which puzzled him, since he just saved her life. Then the light from the street lamps hit her eyes, at least where her eyes should be. They were as black as midnight, like holes in her face where eyes should be. Terror gripped him, and he knew something was very, very wrong.
That's the abyss staring back.
Yeah.
This is one of many tales of mysterious black-eyed children that have been coming into the paranormal mainstream for some years now. It all began with a report from an old-school newspaper reporter in Abilene, Texas, by the name of Brian Bethel. Mr. Bethel had been in the papers in the area for a good while, and he had a strong reputation among the people of Abilene as being a reporter whose word and reporting you could trust. If it weren't for a person of Mr. Bethel's standing in the community being the one to have this encounter, the public may still not know of the oddly terrifying encounters people are having with these black-eyed kids, as they are now known.
Becks.
Becks, for short. Like the beer. We should get a sponsorship for that.
I'm just saying.
One night in 1996, Mr. Bethel was sitting in a parking lot in Abilene, Texas, doing some pre-internet paperwork type stuff. This is the very early days of the internet, 1996.
It's a series of tubes.
It still was then.
Yeah.
When he was startled by a knock on his car window. Here is how Zachary Knowles' book describes what he turned to see. Quote, Brian saw two young boys standing next to his car. One boy was approximately 9 years old, and the other was about 12 years old. The eldest had an olive complexion with dark brown curly hair, while the younger had ginger-colored hair with a pale freckled complexion. They both wore hooded pullovers that partially obscured their eyes. Brian felt an immediate rush of fear when he looked at the two boys maligning at his window. He wasn't sure why his prey instinct would be firing up looking at two innocuous enough youths, but it made him hesitate. The older boy, not moving closer and not revealing his eyes, said, quote, We came here to watch the premiere of Mortal Kombat, but we left our money at home. Will you give us a ride home? Brian held himself still, afraid to move, although there did seem to be something pulling on his strings to make him unlock the doors. Let them in. Let them in. He gripped the wheel and stared at the ominous children. Then the older boy said something that really set off Brian's spidey sense. Quote, It won't take long. We're just two boys. We won't hurt you. We don't have a gun. Let me ask you, Moz, does that sound like something you'd expect a 12-year-old to say in such a situation back in 1996 particularly?
Yeah, I would say not necessarily. It would put up perhaps a red flag.
Yeah, like you haven't even said a word. And we won't hurt you. We don't have a gun.
Yeah.
What the what?
Yeah, what in the what?
So Brian didn't like it either, no siree, but something suddenly tugged hard at those strings. An almost overwhelming urge to open the doors pulled at Brian's mind, at his very soul, but his fear won out. Resisting the urge, Brian stared at the boys, and the worst thing happened. The boys looked up. Can you read this next passage from the book, please, Moz?
For the first time, Brian got a clear look at their eyes, completely black with pupils, irises, or sclera, only darkness. The terror Brian felt flooded his entire being as he muttered some excuse, slammed the car into reverse, and tore out of the parking lot like a bat out of hell.
Straight off a Meatloaf album.
Yeah.
It seems Brian's fear saved him from what may have been a terrible fate, as we will see as we uncover more encounters. But as the next day passed, he could not get off his mind the black-eyed kids trying to get into his car in the strangest of ways.
This would be the opposite of Paradise by the Dashboard Light. It would be
the
other song.
Highway to Hell by the Dashboard Light.
Yeah, something.
It was weird to begin with. Two kids that age approaching a strange man randomly to get a ride. And it occurred to him that the movie time posted on the theater marquee next to the parking lot in which he'd been parked did not match up with the boys' plan. The movie had begun long before the boys approached his window with their horrible, horrible eyes. He couldn't stop thinking about their eyes. After stewing on it for a day or two, he then became a pioneer in the realm in which we now all currently find ourselves together in this very moment. Can you feel it, Moz? Can you feel it?
Something's pulling at me to,
let me in, Moz.
Yeah, nope.
All the way back in 1996, Mr. Brian Bethel, newspaper journalist, made his paranormal encounter story public in the only proper way. He posted it in an online chat room.
Wow.
In the age of the internet monster legend was born. I think all the creepypastas and paranormal podcasts like ourselves here at MLT owe this guy a few buckets of thanks. Unfortunately, all we can offer him right now is some crazy mad Cujos. Mr. Brian Bethel, mad Cujos, sir.
Down boy!
That was a nice gesture.
Right.
Yeah.
We do what we can. We all do what we can.
Yeah.
But can you believe it, Moss? You found the first ever shaman on this podcast, and now I found the first ever creepypasta type poster on the internet.
Yeah. I want to say, I was looking for a proto-shaman. I think shamanism goes back at least 100,000 years. So I don't think, the first one, maybe he may be one of the first after the Ice Age.
Everything came from something, huh?
Well,
no matter how
we have
far back
40,
you go.
50,000 year old cave paintings. So shamanism, I believe, would go back maybe to 100,000, maybe more.
The James Webb has shown that there was something before the Big Bang.
You can go.
There's always something before.
So if you point the James Webb at the cave mouth, you can see the shadows, right? Is that how it works?
No.
Okay then.
Not
even. Nope.
Sorry. It's way too close together in space.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
It gets to be far.
You go far enough away in space, you actually slip to the next slice of the time loaf.
Nice.
Is how I think of it.
Wow. So we get a really good telescope. We could
You
figure
can
out
see
what
halfway across, or actually we can see pretty much all the way.
It's a donut shape, so
back. We can see back through the loaf. We can't see forward.
We
through
see
the
the
loaf.
jelly-filled center.
We can see back all the way to the end of the loaf where it turns into the next loaf.
Right.
Are we talking about physics today?
I think it's cruller shaped myself. But that's my theory.
What kind of cream is it filled with? Because that's the
Crullers
important.
don't have that.
Oh, I'm thinking eclairs.
Yeah.
Cruller.
You would go with
Cruller. Yeah. It's got to be the braided one, so it's like a Mobius strip.
Ooh.
Was that the French cruller or whatever it's called?
Yeah.
Now we're talking about donuts.
Well, it's donut shaped. The universe is where the star.
Oh yes, it is
So
a giant
I don't
donut.
know if you can look beyond the donut.
It's true. They'd call it a torus in that case, but it's basically a donut.
It's a 4-door. Yep.
Yeah, oversized.
Yep.
Got all the bells and whistles.
Good universe.
But anywho, back to the first ever internet monsters here. And that's what Monster Lore Tour is all about. Since Mr. Bethel's initial report on his encounter with the black-eyed kids, there have been numerous reports around the internet of similar happenings. Always are the children trying to get in.
Yeah, that's the common trope.
Whether it be your house, your car, whatever structure you currently habitate or have access to, these kids want in. They want in real bad. But for some reason, it seems they truly will not, or some may conjecture, cannot enter these places without stated permission.
So that's, vampire-y.
Very vampiric. We're going to get into that a lot. Brings us to one classification of these BEK encounter stories, actually the vampiric branch of the black-eyed tree, as I'm thinking of it at this moment. Do black-eyed peas grow on a tree? Or are they like a bush? I don't know. Do vampires have black eyes?
Yes,
Often,
they
right?
can, yeah.
They can. I've seen it depicted. I don't know. I'm probably mixing some metaphors here, so making a giant mess of it. But this topic is wide open as far as theory on the origins of these black-eyed kids goes. So we're basically going to just have one long theory section episode in a way.
Theoretically.
Yeah, theoretically. So first we're going to actually focus on the vampire origins theory. We all know the lore of the vampire. They can't enter your castle, as it were, without stated permission. Once granted that permission, they have no problem running buck wild all up and down your shit, you know? They seem all respectful and stuff until you let them inside, and then they just start wrecking the place for no damn reason.
Yeah, but they're more like vandals than going for the throat.
I think of them more like when you were in high school and you threw a party when your parents went out of town and all the wrong people showed up, and then those guys on the motorcycles came tearing ass into your living room wall.
Yep.
And
been there.
Yeah. Oh wait, that's Weird Science.
Oh,
I'm thinking of a different party. You know what I mean, though.
Yeah.
So let's get into the other contender for the most famous BEK encounter story, along with Mr. Bethel's original recipe that we just tasted. There's those messy metaphors again. The following story supports the theory about these black-eyed kids that was well stated thusly in an article on atlasobscure.com. Quote, some details change from one account to the next, but scholars and urban legend enthusiasts alike agree that the figures are an example of death personified as a child. These malevolent, otherworldly creatures exploit a widely held belief that children are inherently good. Defenses lowered, their victims allow them inside, inviting death and destruction upon themselves.
Didn't they ever see Village of the Damned? Those kids weren't good. I mean, there's a lot of...
Children of the Corn, too.
Children of the Corn. There's a lot of creepy children out there.
Have you seen that guy behind the rose? It's creepy.
Yeah.
But this is the precise trap into which Paul and Brenda Wilson fell. It was a dark and stormy night.
Did you really did this as a quote, or did you do that?
No, I'm not kidding, though. It was literally a dark and stormy night.
Wow.
Snowstorm in the middle of winter, very nasty outside. Way out in the North Country, middle of the night, snowy, freezing. The kind of night one's glad to be inside with a fire and a soft place to sleep. This is exactly the luxury Paul and Brenda Wilson were enjoying this fateful winter night when at around 2 a.m., the darkest part of this darkest of nights, a knock came at their door. As of someone tapping. As if someone gently rapping at my cabin door.
So it was Christmas. They were rapping.
They gathered themselves the best they hurriedly could and went to the door. Outside, they found a couple of haggard, obviously wayward children standing inexplicably at their cabin door. Simply this, and nothing more.
Oh, you are going there. Okay.
They were kindly people. So. They were kindly people, the Wilsons. And normally they would have hurried the children inside to warm them from the cold, but there was something off here. Brenda noticed their footprints in the snow. They were surely alone, no sign of parents or other companions, yet they had a rather calm and collected demeanor about them, not like the frightened children you would expect from the situation. Even their look wasn't right. Their haircuts were starkly out of fashion, as were their wardrobes. Brenda felt a serious hesitation at the prospect, but relenting to her better nature, she welcomed the children inside. Brenda went to make some cocoa while Paul saw the children to the living room. When Brenda came in with the cocoa, she found Paul in distress. The children were on the couch, with Paul sitting across the coffee table from them in his armchair. The children stared at Paul, who had his face in his hands, a face locked in a grimace of anguish. As Brenda ran to him, he said he felt dizzy. He didn't know what was wrong with him. Brenda had never seen him in such a state. "We need to use the bathroom," the little girl said in a painfully inappropriate sing-songy voice. Brenda looked at her and made eye contact with the children for the first time. Brenda was frozen by fear when she looked into the black void where the children's eyes should have been. The girl grabbed her brother's hand and they ran through the kitchen toward the bathroom in the back hallway. That is when Paul's nose began bleeding profusely. Brenda ran to the kitchen to find a rag or something to staunch Paul's nose. As she scrambled, trying to hold on to her sanity, car headlights pulled into the driveway, illuminating the kitchen with dizzying beams of moving light, revealing the children standing in the kitchen doorway, staring at Brenda, hand in hand, all little girls from The Shining style.
Nice.
Kind of thing. As befitted the scene, Brenda screamed like she was in a horror movie in real life, because at this point she pretty much was. Yeah. The creepy girls, off-putting sing-songy voice said, "Our parents are here." And the children beelined it back through the living room and out the front door, leaving it wide open behind them. They never made a phone call, by the way.
Or used the bathroom.
Or really used the bathroom. Brenda watched out the front window as two men in black suits escorted the children into the back seat of their sedan, then got into the front seats and drove away like some normal family heading out for a ride in the country. Let's go to Mr. Knowles' book for a description of the aftermath of this visit from the BEKs, as it affected the Wilsons. You want to take this part for me, Moss?
It would be 30 minutes before the power came back on at the house, just as mysteriously as it had shut off. They never found a reason for the outage. Over the next few months, 3 of the cats went missing. Percival, the cat who had hissed at the children, was found dead in a puddle of bloody vomit on the kitchen floor. The vet's only explanation was he had died because of a hemorrhage, though he never showed any signs of illness before the children's visit. Paul developed regular intense nosebleeds. The only causes doctors could find was dry sinuses. Brenda too developed nosebleeds, and both suffered dizzy spells for months. Paul was also diagnosed with very aggressive melanoma skin cancer, despite having never spent much time in the sun or in a tanning booth. Fortunately, the symptoms eventually went away, and Paul was able to recover from the skin cancer. To this day, Brenda is certain everything that happened, the cats, the nosebleed, the dizziness, the skin cancer, was all due to the mistake of letting a pair of Becks into their home. Six-pack.
Just had to do it, didn't you? Right at the end. You had to slip it in there.
Bone would have came with a sword to save you if you have a six-pack.
Yeah, 2 beers doesn't do nothing for you. You got to bring 6, right?
Gotta bring 6.
But seriously, there's a lot going on there. But we are focusing on the vampire aspects right now. We'll come back to the fact that someone actually came to get these kids in a little bit.
Yeah, because I'm going with the other.
That's another big one. Let's wait till we get there. But before we get deep into the vampire discussion, I want to give you one more story. This one comes from a Marine named Jody, stationed at Camp Lejeune in North Carolina.
Don't drink the water.
Yeah. Jody was half asleep in their 3rd-story barracks apartment one night when there was a knock at the door. Expecting a keyless roommate, Jody went to the door and just pulled it open. He did not find a keyless roommate on the other side, as he had expected. Standing there looking at him were 2 little kids. This was a very odd thing to find at your door on a military base in the middle of the night. Jody was at a loss, having no idea what to make of the situation, and it just got weirder from there. Here is how Mr. Knowles' book explains what happened, so you don't have to take my word for it. Jody said in the Marines, they had been taught to always listen to that little voice in your head that warned you. It can save your life. That little voice he had learned to trust was, as he put it, screaming at him to close the door. His first instinct was terror, a most unusual reaction to a couple of kids. As he stood there for a moment, trying to make sense of the emotions he was experiencing, he noticed something most disconcerting about the children. Their eyes were completely black. No color, no white, just darkness. Jody ignored the voice in his head and asked the children what they were doing out at that time of night. They replied, "It's really cold out here. We want to come inside and read."
There's your first hint.
Huh?
Kids don't read.
That's almost scarier than the "we don't have a gun."
Adults don't read. Yeah, that's scary.
Right?
Yeah.
Jody said it was like their black eyes were drawing him in, almost hypnotizing him, like the old wives' tale about snakes mesmerizing their prey so it won't escape. A wave of utter terror swept over him as if a predator was eyeing him and he needed to run for cover immediately. Instinctively, Jody slammed the door shut and locked it. He stood there in his darkened apartment, almost paralyzed with fear, as the children once again began to knock on his door. Then the window began to rattle, and Jody stepped back farther into the shadows, struggling to regain his composure. After approximately 5 minutes of knocking and rattling that seemed to last for an eternity, there was silence. The next day, Jody checked around, and no one in the area saw any children that night.
Yeah.
Okay, so with the second story, we reinforced some stuff, and we introduced some stuff. So what do we have in the way of vampire lore in these tales of the BEKs at this moment? Moss, I do have a little bullet point presentation here that we can share. So 1, they need to be invited in. We all know that bit of the vampire stuff. I don't think we really need to go too much into it. The mesmerization skills, that pull, you were just, the let me in, that Brenda and Jody both feel the pull, you know? Brian felt that pull in the original encounter, wanting to open the door. And you're going to see that in like every story with these things. That's very vampiric. They got that mesmerization thing that goes with them. I think that comes from every tale from Anne Rice to Twilight to Brian Lumley's Necroscope. There's the vampire to the original Nosferatu. They all have this like hypnotic, mesmeric type power over people.
Yeah.
Then you got the energy drain, both physical and electrical. The power outage in the Wilson's house. The kids walk out of the room, all of a sudden power goes off. It's not an isolated case of that. That happens in a number of these stories as well. Paul's pain and nosebleed and subsequent cancer that they say was all because of that. It's has this like weird energy drain. Plus the cats. The vampires like cats, Mars.
Percival. Yeah. I mean, Renfield would get a hold of a cat, you know?
Yeah. There you go. And then they also have the out of style dress, the out of style hair, the odd patterns of speech. It's all very, very vampiric, all of those aspects of these stories. What do you think on that, Moss?
Well, except the main, of course, thing that we don't have any connection to this. We have more of a psychic vampire, a Colin Robinson situation, a variation thereof, not an actual vampire that's physically
right.
But the
it's like it's sucking your life energy.
But the other component, it's more energetic, psychic vampire. But it's also, there's the mesmerization piece and the kids almost playing tricks. It does have a trickster component to it, which is supposed to be part of the constellation of that whole trickster phenomenon that I'm going to present at some point. So it does have some elements of that in some ways, almost like Hell Night before Halloween, where the kids come out and take over Dodge.
Wow. That's very interesting you say that, because the very next part of my notes here is all about how there also seems to be a distinct connection to Halloween with these kids. The trick-or-treating, that's very trickster,
right,
and the Halloween-y sort of connection. But if you look at all the stories associated with the BEKs, they like to mess with people on Halloween by showing up typically after acceptable trick-or-treating hours and ringing the doorbell dressed not in the expected costumes, but just regular street clothes.
Expecting candy.
Very trickster. They're messing with you. They very much mess with you. So the trickster point is very on. But case in point for this, here is a tale from thoughtcatalog.com that got an avid Halloween decorator to leave his house dark for the holiday. Yesterday, I noticed my neighbor hadn't put out all his Halloween decorations, lights, etc. The past 2 years I've lived next to him, he's gone all out for Halloween. I got home from work and was walking up my driveway, and I saw him outside and said something like, "Hey man, you better get your Halloween stuff up or that house up the street's going to beat you for the best decorations." He kind of smiles sheepishly and says that he's actually going to keep his house dark this year and just put candy out. I asked if he was going to go out of town, but he said no, something happened last year that really scared him. Now, I was concerned for my own safety if some weirdos were coming around the neighborhood, which is a pretty safe neighborhood with tons of young families living here. So I asked him what happened. He said last year he had a bunch of kids come to his door like always, but by 11:30 they were pretty much done. So he was inside watching TV and the doorbell rings. He grabs the candy bowl and heads over, noticing that it's a little past midnight. And that's pretty rude for trick-or-treaters to still be out. But then notices he hasn't turned off all his decoration lights yet, so his house is lit up like a beacon. He swings the door open and is about to yell "boo" or something to freak them out, but stops dead when he sees the kids at the door. He said one was probably around 13 to 14 and the other around 16 to 17, both boys. They weren't dressed up, but he remembers the older one was wearing a flannel checkered shirt. He was immediately overcome with uneasiness, like opening the door was a huge mistake. There it is again. They just stared at him, and he noticed they had really big irises and dilated pupils. He couldn't see the whites of their eyes, so he figured they were contact lenses. He was frozen there, holding the candy bowl, like he couldn't slam the door in their face as much as he wanted to. So he nervously tried to smile at them, hoping they would break character and ask for candy or something. The younger one said they had gotten lost and needed to come in and use his phone. That was when he closed the door more than halfway on them and said, "No, sorry." And the older one said something like, "Can we just wait in your house until our parents come to get us?"
And he said it just like that, I hope.
I like to give him a voice. But by then, he was convinced that his life was in danger, and these kids must be high on something or intended to rob him. He just kept mumbling, "No, sorry, good night," as he inched the door closed and locked it. He was scared at this point that they were going to try to break in through one of his windows or something, but he looked through the peephole and they had turned to leave. He watched TV with the volume really low so he could hear any sounds at all, and he said he stayed up till like 5 a.m. because he was too scared to go to bed and drop his guard. He said the fear he felt was so primal and came over him the second he opened the door for them.
Yeah, the fear piece of it, I don't know if you want to... It's interesting because they always seem to be, like I said, the common trope is they're trying to get in. The fear factor seems to impede that many times. Like they're trying to convince you of something mesmerization-wise through suggestion, and yet this primal fear is still there, and people are repulsed by that. So there's these two dynamics going on. One is, I need to do this and open the door, and the other one is, oh my God, I'm scared out of my wits. Now, some of them, they're frozen, and then the kids can, do what they want. Other times, they have enough of to be able to shut the door and lock it behind them. But it seems like these two forces go against each other. Like, if they could shut the fear factor off, they should, till they win they win the confidence of the person they're trying to dupe. Doesn't seem to be the case. They seem to be just emanating this raw primal fear that they can't shut off, that people pick up on right away, and it makes it harder for them to get into the house and break shit, which makes me sad.
They kind of have like the natural field of bad energy around them,
right?
That they can't help but people feel it.
Yeah, they can't disguise it in any way, shape, or form.
Well, or do they try to disguise it by taking the form of innocent-looking children as best they can?
Right, but they also seem. They also don't seem to be trying to win the confidence in any meaningful or effective way. So it's counterintuitive as to what they're really trying to do. There's a lot going on.
It is almost like they're just there to mess with you more than anything, honestly. Yeah. And if you do let them in, they suck all your energy out.
Yeah, that's why I do think to the trickster constellation
But this actually, again, you transitioned very well to my next points for me. I appreciate when you do that because the basic vampire stuff we've covered, but I feel like it might go deeper than that, and it's toward these points you're making. What if these kids are young, actual predators of some kind, learning to hunt? You know what I mean? Like, they have to learn how to talk to us, interact with us, disguise themselves properly to, they're out learning how to hunt. You know what like the lion cub doesn't just automatically go out and kill a deer or an antelope by itself. It goes with other lions, learns how to do it. Even your house cats.
Doesn't seem to be any black-eyed adults, though. So I wonder if the black-eyed kids is get to know your quarry, and then when you're older, you have to kill them if they see you, kind of thing. We don't have black-eyed. I mean, there are creatures that tend to have this black, empty eyeball thing.
Hold that thought.
Where?
Because actually black-eyed adults are going to come up. It's a thing, but I'm not quite there yet.
Okay.
But good point. Keep that in your mind, because there are black-eyed adults and there's differences in how they operate.
Doesn't work as well. Can I use your bathroom?
Right. But when they're kids, the BEKs are the ones who are training.
Yeah.
Is kind of the point we're getting at there. But the point I'm have written out here first, so we're going to get to this first, and then we'll get back around to the black-eyed adults. What if there's some kind of reaper, future collectors of souls, training for the day when they start harvesting us like a crop? They actually have, it's like they have to actually develop a bedside manner with us, kind of thing, for when the day comes. They just literally don't know how to interact with us, and they have that physical effect on us because we're supposed to be dead when we see them, you know? But this brings us to another encounter with these pesky kids in which the unwitting victim lets the children into their home. This never ends well.
So Black Reapers in training is what you're getting at?
Just Grim Reapers in training, basically, yeah. Like Children Reapers is the next theory I'm going to lay out here.
Is this yours, or is this a one?
It's kind of, I kind of put the actual theory part together on my own. I can't say they're all unique. I didn't research it enough to know if no one else is doing it.
Right.
But the vampire one obviously is like a big connection.
Yeah. And Men in Black.
The Men in Black one we're going to do, that's a big connection. The Reaper one I think is a little, at least much more obscure.
I never heard
if
that
it's
one
out there before.
Yeah.
But kind of plays into the Predator thing, which we'll get into in other angles as well.
Salmon Moose.
But let's get into this next story. Let's meet Jillian, single urban professional woman living in the big city. One early evening, she gets a knock at her door. When she answers it, she finds two young boys on her stoop. The older one looks about 12, the other a couple years younger. The older one told her that they had become lost in the neighborhood and that his younger brother was desperate to find a bathroom, and could they please come inside. How much better of an approach is that than the other ones we've heard? Yeah. I think these kids have been training for a while. Jillian felt the typical wash of seemingly irrational fear, and the boy's behavior was as odd as in the other tales we're telling today. But she was a kind woman and not one for giving in to fear. But what kind of monster would turn away a child in need of a bathroom, too? You know what I mean? So Jillian invited them in.
She could be LaChusa.
But she did invite them in, and things went sideways immediately. The young one headed straight for the bathroom before being told where it was, and with her floor plan, it was certainly not an obvious thing where the bathroom was. And as the older one got closer to her, the fear she felt grew exponentially. As she moved toward the kitchen phone to make a call for the lost boys, she was overwhelmed by a sense of danger, and before she could even react to it, the older child asked, "Is everything okay?"
Again, not what a child would ask.
As though he could feel her fear. Here's a quote from the book. A chill ran through Jillian, and the hair on the back of her neck stood up. She began to feel shaky and slightly disoriented. She turned to look at him for the first time, having a clear look at his face. Jillian would not be able to remember any of his features later, but the sight of the black, empty eyes would stay with her the rest of her life. Jillian felt so terrified the scream she wanted to emit was trapped in her throat, and her feet seemed cemented to the floor. She began to shake and became dizzy, feeling helpless and vulnerable, a very foreign feeling for Jillian. Through sheer willpower, she managed to turn her body, only to see the younger boy at the other end of the kitchen staring at her with lifeless black eyes. Jillian felt trapped, but she was not going to go down without a fight. Her knees began to buckle under some external power. The older boy said, "We've come to collect you."
That does sound Reaper-y. I guess that's where you got that.
That's where the Reaper comes from. That was my moment. "We've come to collect you," he said. Yeah. Jillian broke out of her hypnosis, ran for the bedroom, and was able to get the door closed and locked behind her.
So she knows her floor plan. That's good.
Right. After a while of listening for any signs of what the boys were up to out there, she decided to make a break for it. She threw open the door and dashed for the back door of her apartment, straight shot out the back door from her bedroom, and went full speed to the neighbor's house. And by the time anyone returned to check her apartment, there was no sign of the odd children. So here we see some support for the Reaper and or Predator, young training Predator type theory. I mean, the whole "we've come to collect you" thing, it's kind of in your face with that.
Yeah, it's an odd, and again, it's an odd. And again, psychic vampire wouldn't do that. They're going to drain you. They're not collecting you. Right. They want your energy, and they're going to move on.
It's like once they can get inside, they can drain you all they want, but they can't touch you until you invite them in somewhere. It's weird.
But where would they want to take them? I mean, in some ways, it just seems like they would drain.
Well, collect your soul. The body.
Well,
probably
that's what I'm
stays
saying. That's
behind.
more like the Reaper, but it's not like the general black-eyed kids phenomenon.
Or maybe just straight demons looking to eat your soul.
Yeah,
What
the
eats
demonic
souls? We have to have
the
covered
demonic. They seem very demonic. Is the
Yeah.
other piece of it.
Yeah, or like a shadow person inside someone's
Yeah,
body, kind of thing, or like
possessing
trying
a
to take the
kid.
form.
They're possessing a kid.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Huh.
it's
Zoo.
Zoo. Yeah, we got a new one to do now. There you
Yeah,
go.
I'm glad I caught that. But there is more. There is evidence in these encounter stories that these apparently little children are physically much stronger than one would expect of children that size and age as well. This is a little more into the predator/reaper theory. Remember Tyrone from the opening story you read?
Yep.
He's the one that saw the strange young girl and the boy come out of the woods and save the girl from in front of the car.
Who was then angry?
We left that off on a cliffhanger. So let's jump back in where we left off. And
Yeah,
hear
it did end abruptly or dotted off.
That was like my lead in. It was my tease.
Yeah.
But now you're going to finish reading that story for us, Maz. And we're going to see what happened to Tyrone after the little girl got mad at him for saving her life.
Or mad about you.
Mad. We're all mad down here.
He could instantly tell she was very angry with him, which puzzled him since he had just saved her life. Then the light from the street lamps hit her eyes, at least where her eyes should be. They were as black as midnight, like holes in her face, where eyes should be. Terror gripped him, and he knew something was very, very wrong. Suddenly a firm, powerful hand grabbed his arm and pulled him away from the girl. It was the boy, and he seemed to have the strength of a grown man. Further convinced things were not as they seemed, and he was in danger, Tyrone had one thought on his mind: run. He struggled to get free of the boy, trying very hard to avoid looking at his face because he didn't want to catch sight of another pair of black eyes. The little boy seemed to have a death grip on Tyrone's sleeve, and struggle as he might, Tyrone could not get free. Desperate and afraid, Tyrone did what any sensible person would do in this situation. He pulled out of his hoodie and left it behind. Something instinctive within him told him he needed to get out of there, ASAP, even if he left some of his clothes behind. He could hear them chasing after him, yelling at him to stop. Their cries made his blood curdle. Tyrone ignored them and kept running, determined not to look back at those cold black eyes ever again.
So were they trying to kill the driver of the car? Was Tyrone lucky to get away with his life, body, and soul intact? Does this play into the Reaper and Predator of humans theories that we're talking about? What do you think about all that, Moss?
Well, it's time we're getting a little bit more of a sense that not only do these kids have mesmerization and these crazy black eyes and this suggestibility, they have strength beyond their years as well, which makes them a more, again, formidable.
Yeah, and it really makes you wonder, what were they planning with that car? Like, was it...
It was going to stop and they were going to...
Just drain it.
They were going to...
Drain the driver, drain the car.
Yeah, but again, we see every one of these being not typical and tropish, yet different in that sometimes they just seem to be playing tricks. Sometimes they want to drain you. Sometimes they want to collect you. Sometimes they want to beat you up.
Although they would have actually, I know what would happen. The car stops and they walk up to the window and say, can we come in?
Can we go to the bathroom?
Can you give us a ride? Can we come in your car? We really have to go to the bathroom and read. I promise we don't have a gun.
Yeah.
Some weird kids, dude.
Yeah. You know, they do have to work on a lot of their little repertoire.
But let's throw some more fuel on that fire that you lit a minute ago here, Moz, because now we come to the part of my notes where we do get into the black-eyed adults part of the black-eyed family tree. I didn't know this was a thing till I wrote this episode. I always thought it was just the kids. There is a mature version of this, which plays into the whole maturing predator type theory. But as we see the black-eyed kids always appearing in pairs, there's always two of them. The ages range, as we've seen, but it's always two. The BEAs, or black-eyed adults, seem to always hunt alone. They seem more wily, more practiced, and some even show signs of potential shape-shifting sorts of abilities. Right up your alley here, Moz. To show you what I mean, let's take the tale of Henry the truck driver from Mr. Knowles' book. Harry was a charming but level-headed truck driver. While he was visiting a casino near the truck stop he stopped at for the night, Harry struck up a conversation with a very pretty Native American woman serving drinks. We've all been there, haven't we, Moss? After the evening wore on, their conversation grew friendlier. After exchanging names and the like, she told Harry her shift would be over in a few hours, and she would love to meet him out in the parking lot if he would bring some beer. Delighted at the prospect of spending some more time with this enchanting and beautiful young woman, he quickly agreed. After buying a 6-pack of beer, see, you need the 6-pack.
6-pack.
He waited in the parking lot near the front door of the casino. Around the time she was supposed to get off, he headed out to the back of the building to meet her. However, he couldn't find her. People kept coming out, obviously getting off work, but she was not among them. He did encounter a much older Hispanic woman in the parking lot who acted as if she knew him, even calling him by name. So this isn't like, hey, this guy's got beer, let's see if he'll hang out. She called him by name. He didn't recognize her, but she recalled talking to him earlier in the evening, and they were supposed to meet out in the parking lot. Like, she has the whole thing. Harry didn't know what to make of her behavior and noticed she wasn't carrying any keys or a purse, which puzzled him too. It was as if she was just getting off work, but he hadn't seen her in the casino or anywhere for that matter. He told her he didn't know her, nor did he want anything to do with her, for she was making him very uncomfortable. He quickly headed back to his truck, trying to shake off the weird feeling he had. He changed into his sleeping clothes and decided to call it a night with a book he had been wanting to read. It seemed his much-awaited rendezvous with the Native American woman was not meant to be. We've all been there, haven't we, Moss?
I like the book idea. I'm good.
There you go. Just as he settled in, there was a loud banging on the door of his truck. Harry described the type of banging you'd hear if someone was trying to wake you because your truck was on fire. That's some serious banging. He quickly opened the curtains and rolled down the window, only to see the beautiful Native American woman he'd been looking for all night. Something was very wrong with her appearance, though. She was disheveled, silent, and her movements were rigid, almost robotic. And her eyes met Harry's. He realized they were completely black. It was as if her entire eyeballs were made of a shiny black material. Startled, he turned on all the lights in his truck, certain his eyes were deceiving him. Her eyes, which had been a most beautiful shade of brown earlier that night, were still black, and the blackness seemed to extend around her eyes, too. He said it was a blackness that seemed to suck all the light into it. That discovery was scary enough, but that wasn't what upset Harry the most. What was most disturbing was the way his hand was reaching for the door handle to let her in, despite the fact he was terrified of her appearance and had no intention of letting her into the truck. It took all the willpower he had to keep from opening the truck door and letting this woman in. No, he choked out weakly. He barely even had the strength to speak. She did not say a word, nor had she said a word the entire time she was standing there. Harry rushed to get his truck roaring to life and pulled away. What he saw that night, however, would haunt him for the rest of his life. Not to mention, he studiously avoided that truck stop for the rest of his career.
It's sad when you have to go past that casino over and over again. You can't
and
go
it was
in
in like the perfect place for his route and stuff. It sucks when you lose a stop like that.
Yep.
But what do you think at this point, Moz? Do we have some sort of vampire, demon, human predator type species of something running around with black voids for eyeballs?
Yeah, I mean, I'm ready for the Men in Black one because in some ways I feel that might be the...
You're feeling that?
Well, I like that tie-in. And nothing fits with them. They're an anomaly.
Right.
They overlap, but there's nothing that's a perfect fit.
I do have a good segment coming up for you, so let's move along. We'll get there real quick for you. But I feel like that was an example of a matured BEK became a BEA and is able to hunt solo and have like a much more direct, a much more effective approach, as it were.
Right.
But still at the end, when they take the predatorial form, you feel that fear. They can't turn that off. Mm-hmm. Like you said, that's like their giveaway. That's their kryptonite, as it were.
So if a BEK becomes a BEA, but it turns into a BYOB.
Ooh. Bring your own blood.
No, I mean, didn't she? She didn't show
Bring
up
your
with
own
the beer.
Body. Bring your own body.
She didn't bring the beer. She said she was gonna.
No, he brought the beer. He was bringing the beer.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay,
but before we move into the final official theory section and whatnot, which is where we'll get to the stuff you're kind of itching for there, Moz, there is one more question I want to ask about these black-eyed kid encounters. What happens if you bump into them when you're outside?
That was Tyrone's story.
Yeah, there you go. I guess so.
And Percival, the poor cat.
Well, no, Percival was in the house and his
he was
died in the kitchen.
Okay.
But we're going to get into some more stuff about the outside encounters. Let's go to a tale from a boy named Bobby. Bobby's a skateboarder who has a full-on skate park in his neighborhood, so he's there most of the evenings and often into the night. One night he's there about 10 p.m. when he notices some kids who are younger than the teens you usually see at the park that late in the evening. Then Bobby found himself pulling up near the two young boys. He estimated the older one to be about 12, the younger to be maybe about 8, although they had some ball caps pulled down low over their eyes so he couldn't see their face very well. Before Bobby could ask them what their deal was, the older one said, "Can you take us to your house? We need to use your phone." The boy's tone alone was enough to stop Bobby in his tracks. There was an odd animalistic trill to the boy's voice, that little predatorial, that sent tingles down Bobby's spine. Then there were the words themselves. "To my house so they can use a phone?" Who sends their kids out at night without a cell phone in their pocket? Because this is a more modern story. Bobby was forced to wonder. Being a good Samaritan, though, Bobby reached for his own phone to let the boys make a call from there. As he pulled the device from his pocket, the boys looked up at him. Here is how Zachary Knowles describes what happened next. Do you want to take this bit for me, Moss?
Bobby let out an involuntary gasp as he saw the boy's eyes were black. Not brown, not dilated, but totally black. It dawned on him that they were contacts, so he complimented them. "Those are cool contacts. Where'd you get them?" In a haughty, impatient tone, the boy replied,
"They're not contacts. Where do you live?"
A sense of danger began to sweep over Bobby. He slowly placed his phone back into his hip pocket of his jeans and took a step back. "Sorry, can't help you," he said. He turned away, placing his skateboard back on the concrete when he felt a hand aggressively grab his shoulder. A voice followed, "We need to go inside. We cannot unless you take us to your house." The tone was arrogant, demanding, and hostile.
Bobby freaked at getting grabbed. The boy was much stronger than his appearance, but Bobby was quick enough to react. He popped the kid in the noodle, jumped on his board, and bounced before they could get a hold of him again.
For him.
He took a roundabout way home to make sure they didn't follow him. After a bunch of fast rolling around a bunch of bends and down some blind alleys and whatnot, Bobby was confident there was no way anyone could have followed him home, so he went home. The next day, while sitting at his desk, he suddenly felt someone staring at him. Looking out the window, the two odd boys with black eyes were standing out there, staring right back at him. This is where I'm going to dive right into the theory section, officially, because there is something we need to talk about before my head explodes. So we went through the vampire stuff earlier. This whole needing to get inside things with the BEKs seems to be above and beyond the typical vampire myth to me, even. Like, they just keep trying, they want it so bad. And they certainly aren't draining people's blood with their fangs, but they do seem to be draining energy, both from people's bodies and minds, and from the electric grid. Like, all of it, like we were talking about. And I mean, energy is energy, right?
Yeah.
What if these BEKs are interdimensional parasite beings, like we discovered in episode 73, talking about the Bridgeport poltergeist case, that are attempting to take human form in order to prey upon us? Not only us, but our electric grid and like our energy generation and everything, like any energy they can get their hands on. Could these BEKs be an attempt by the interdimensional parasites that Mr. Eno spoke about in the connection with the Bridgeport poltergeist case to worm their way into our perspective reality and feed on our life force?
Yeah, and it does tie in not only with that interdimensional piece that he was, pointing out for the poltergeist phenomenon, but it also ties in with there's an element of the Wetico. So they have a fear contagion piece to it.
Oh,
They're bringing this fear, so there's a Wetico component to it.
Totally.
And there's a trans-dimensional parasite version to it as well.
So the Wetico isn't, maybe, here's the new theory then. It's the Wetico. The Wetico is not a virus. It's a parasite.
Well, we're going to...
It's actually like a being.
We're going to discuss that. We have a monstrous microcosm coming up, but we're going to discuss more of the physicality. And the Wetico is going to be more of the fear is contagion and just this ancient enemy.
Our next batch of episodes, as I think about it, after our next Side Trail compilation and an interview and stuff, we're going to get into the monstrous microcosm in a very direct way.
And the Wetico, which ties back into this. And again, that's what I say with these kids, pick your flavor, because they sit at the middle of a bunch of overlapping phenomenon again. You can say Jinn. You could look at them and think Jinn, too.
The plasma being thing. The plasma beings would, be big on sucking out your energy.
Yeah.
Because plasma is nothing but energy. That's all they want is energy.
Yeah. They very psychic vampire, very Jinn-like, very vampire-like, very Men in Black-like.
Yeah. But the weird part to me is the permission to come inside, though. That's what I always keep coming back to with these guys. Because did the Jinn have to ask permission to come in your house?
I don't believe so.
Like they can go anywhere
they want. Yeah, that's a good point.
It's weird. Like the only thing I really know of that needs that permission is the vampire.
Yeah.
And like the certain elements of this relate to that, but it's definitely not the strongest theory that these things are vampires.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The psychic one, it's a variation of the theme, and perhaps psychic vampire gets it closest to what they represent.
Yeah. And actually another element that we touched upon but didn't really get into, but the whole energy side of things with these guys, is the seemingly radioactive effect they have on some of their victims. Take Paul and Brenda, for example. Paul sat in the living room with the children for a bit and suddenly had chronic nosebleeds and developed cancer. Turned out not to be the most terrible kind of cancer because he did recover, but Paul and Brenda always blamed that strange encounter with the black-eyed kids for all that happened after, with all that stuff. Could this radioactive quality be a testament to their potential interdimensionality? It's very UFO-y in a way to me. But, like if their atoms are spinning a bit differently than ours, but they're twisting their gravity and energy to be perceivable on our dimensional membrane, so could this have an effect similar to radiation on those of this realm? I'm gonna have to do some looking into that. It's kind of reminiscent of the Bridgeport poltergeist story we did, with the weird opposite things falling wrong, and it's like gravity was twisting around somehow or something, and like, is it that kind of thing going on? Maybe that causes the nosebleeds and the cancer and just like weird effects on people,
Yeah, I actually looked back into that because I'm going to be going into that a little bit. And it also reminds me of the mirrored particles. You sent me that whole Anton thing that was really cool from that YouTube guy.
Anton Petrov, is that his name on YouTube? Love that guy.
Yeah, he's very good at explaining complicated things. But the mirror thing, it's interesting because you got this DNA handedness, like it's, DNA might be left-handed and amino acids are right-handed, or RNA is right-handed.
Right.
And that's across the board, period. That's the way it is. This complementarity, like two sides of a glove. The mirror particles are reversed. So there's all kinds of implications as to if you create a whole being that's reversed particle and spin, is that the black-eyed kid? Like, is that where it ends up evolving into something?
That's there you go. Yeah, that's add that concept to the discussion, because if you summarize all my discussed theories so far, we can add the BEKs up to being predatory, parasitic, interdimensional, vampiric monsters attempting to take the form of human in order to feed upon us.
Yeah.
For some reason, they can't get the eyes right.
Yeah, they always have the.
So spinning in from they're a monster particle from the other side of the spin of our dimension, or their bizarro world.
Yeah, and everything has its tell. The eyes are what they can't change back to the jinn. They have like the goat feet that they can't change, and everything has that one shapeshifter tell.
Yeah.
And with the black-eyed kids, it's kind of their eyes.
Yeah, maybe they're just missing a soul, and that's, the eyes are the window to the soul, they say.
Can I do a quick Ahu Guano? Or we?
Yeah, my Ahu Guano's next. It's actually your favorite part we're going to talk about.
Nice.
Hinting at it throughout the episode. But yeah, you can do yours first, and then we'll jump into the official. Oh no, here it comes! Quick, to the batshit signal!
Reminds me of Grimm, like that blackness of the eye that the Vesson sees. It's just this hole that they see themselves reflected.
Oh yeah.
So what if the Grimm is the adult black-eyed kid? So the kids are just playing, let's go find a Vesson and kill him. So they knock at your door, and if you're a Vesson, then they kill you.
Whoa.
But then when they become adults, then their eyes become normalized, but not to Vesson, and they become adult Grimms.
So the BEKs are child Grimms.
Child Grimms.
Oh wow. That's a good Ahu Guano.
There you go.
Well done. Well, let's get into my next one, as I said, is the official. So let's play the bumper here. Ahu Guano theory of the week. Oh no, here it comes! Quick, to the batshit signal! My Ahu Guano, to begin, I think people have kind of figured out what's going on here, but I'm going to go through it. To begin, I want to go back to earlier in the episode to a story I was just a moment ago referencing. There's a point I said in the moment we would come back to. Now is the time to come back to it. Oh boy, this really is an Ahu Guano the way this is all starting. Paul and Brenda, as we were talking about, had one of the most up-close and personal extended encounters with a pair of black-eyed kids that anyone has ever documented. With the harrowing events of the encounter itself and the devastating after-effects they suffered, it's easy to overlook what may be the oddest and most frightening part of the whole story, that someone came to pick up the kids.
Yeah, every story has a different element, and that element is that someone came to pick them up at the end of the story.
Yeah.
You don't hear that every day.
It's creepy. Like
they're usually looking for a ride. They don't have a ride.
You got the whole screaming in the kitchen as the lights shine through the window scene. That's great for the movie and all, but the really scary part is their parents, or quote unquote parents showed up.
Yeah.
And it seems Paul and Brenda are the only ones to ever meet these quote unquote parents.
Meet the Fockers.
In any of these stories. They say it a lot, like, can we come in and call our mom? Can we come call our parents? Our parents are coming to get us.
Yeah.
This is the only one where the parents actually show up.
Yeah, it's weird.
So the implications of this element are far less discussed than the actions of, the people directly involved inside the house. But they're the driving force behind the Ahu Guano theory this week. So let me read you the end of Paul and Brenda's encounter story from Mr. Knowles' book that we started earlier. A cold breeze blew in as Brenda found her way to Paul, and together they rushed to the front window. They saw the children illuminated by car lights from a sedan idling in their snow-covered driveway. Standing at the front of the car were two very tall men dressed in dark suits. As the children approached the men, they opened the back doors of the car. Brenda and Paul watched as the children and then the two men got into the dark sedan and drove away into the dark, snowy night. At least he didn't say dark, stormy night like I did. But two very tall men in dark suits show up in the middle of nowhere in the middle of the night to pick up the two most frighteningly strange children one could ever have the misfortune to meet. There's a little question here that you kind of already answered, but I'm going to ask it anyway. These two guys remind you of anything, Moss?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's perfect that the Men in Black would actually be the parents.
It is, isn't it?
And just show up. The quirkiness of the kids, the quirkiness of the Men in Black. There's certainly a strange overlap. But they wear sunglasses, and the Grimm had to wear a sunglass at Monroe's wedding. So I'm going to keep, I'm going to go up that road. I'm not. But Men in Black, but back to reality. Reality being monster paranormal folklore. It does seem really interesting tie-in, Men in Black versus... But there's not the sense of fear. There's a kind of more of a mesmerization piece with the Men in Black.
Right. They have the weird clothes. They have the weird hair. They have the weird speech patterns and weird questions and aren't familiar with familiar things. And, all that stuff overlaps. but I think that plays into my theory of the predator in training kind of thing, or they're men in black instead of a predator in training, maybe a man in black in training, because they do learn to control that fear thing.
And they don't always
and they do get better. They're still weird.
Yeah.
But they can show up and like talk to you and get their point across. And
so they reel in their fear. People are still afraid of Men in Black, but not to the same. It's not the same primal fear.
Right.
So they're getting a handle on that.
It's like a training thing that they learn how to,
reel it
lessen
back,
their pheromones or whatever it is. Like, I don't know what the hell it is that's going on, but that energy they're giving off that makes us go, oh my God, close the door.
Yeah.
They learn how to like control it, and they also learn how to, instead of, being so weird, you're like, what the hell did you just say? It's weird in that, oh, this guy's weird.
Yeah.
It's still weird, but it's not like it's less weird.
Right.
And they're more able to approach us and interact with us. And I mean, you hear the Men in Black stories. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who have seen and experienced some really crazy stuff that will never tell anyone about it, because these guys showed up and had a conversation with them and let them know what would happen if they did.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what they do, right? There's some kind of force in training, I think. And I'm with you. Like, I made it the Ahu Guano, but I'm with you. This is my favorite theory on this, is Men in Black in training.
Yeah, you did put it into the batshit side, and that's. But again, if I had to pick what is the closest fit, it is Psychic Vampire. But they're all over the map, and that's why this is while you were speaking, I thought of my Ahu Guano. I took a page from you and really didn't prepare. I'm going to go with these.
Oh, actually, I need to make my culminating point of this Ahu Guano theory before you do yours, though, because this is what makes, I got to put the exclamation point on it, because it is a full-on Ahu Guano. So my final question was, are the Men in Black the most highly evolved form of interdimensional parasitic being come to our plane of existence to enslave humankind as a source of power and sustenance?
Yes.
Okay, now I'm done with my Ahu Guano.
I like it. I like it.
But is the invasion already so heavily upon us that it's already too late? That's, I guess, would be the real question. And these interdimensional overlords have already claimed so many souls. Like, can any of us escape the madness and cruelty that is descending upon us as we speak?
I will say this.
Can we panic yet? Is it time to panic yet?
I will say this. I had a real conversation with someone. I'm not going to mention a name, but an actual FBI agent.
Oh, that wasn't me.
And she basically said, when I said about, I, of course, if I meet an FBI agent, I'm going to talk about Fox Mulder and Dana Scully.
Yeah. Totally ask her if Men in Black are real and stuff like that. Yeah.
And she said, I think aliens are already here. Like, I think they're already among us.
Confirmation is what I call that.
Yeah. Now, it did sound like she was just theorizing.
Well, that's like when the news person says allegedly.
Well, yeah, exactly.
The FBI person has to say, I think.
Yeah. No, I
know what I'm...
No, she did look like very serious when she said that. Mm-hmm. I'll say that.
FBI people are very serious.
Yeah, I know.
Seriously.
That's why I could never be an FBI agent.
I don't know if I've ever spoken to an FBI agent in real life, actually.
Yeah. Well,
I only know them from the TV.
There you go.
And let's keep it that way if we can.
That's right. I'm with you on that.
So I'm going to stop talking about the Men in Black then, actually, in that vein.
Well, while you were talking,
yeah,
I thought of my own Ahu Guano. I took a page from you. I did not think of this ahead of time.
On the fly. Love it.
Didn't do my homework.
Love it.
And don't have a Wolfman Puck either, now that I think about it. But anyway, I'm thinking it's, and bear with me, I think it's the Chupacabra. I think the black-eyed kids are the Chupacabras.
They're the goat bloodsuckers?
Yes.
Explain, please.
They overlap every other genre except that which they are hiding.
Ooh.
Yeah.
They're the least most obvious thing.
Case closed.
That's pretty batshitty. That's good work. That's good work, Maz. That's the craziest thing.
I just wanted to say Chupacabra. Like, I got to say Chupacabra.
That is completely void of logic, and we're all stupider for having heard it.
We're all a little emptier inside.
I'm paraphrasing Billy Madison there because I don't remember the actual line.
Yeah, well, I can't suck people dry psychically, but I can still Colin Robinson with the best of them in my own way. Just,
there you go.
As the episode goes on, you just feel a little deader inside.
The BEKs are chupacabra. That's crazy.
The Becks.
Just when you think it can't get any crazier, it just keeps going. You can't. It's like an infinitely tall cliff that we dive off sometimes on this podcast.
Well, that's why, and I always have my flavor of the week, and I talk about it. I will for a while now, but the trickster and the paranormal, very interesting.
Well, that's why I love the Alpha Guano, though, because no matter how serious or unserious or whatever, our episodes have a huge range.
Yeah.
On how deep and serious or whatnot they can be. The Alpha Guano is always just crazy. I love it. I love that we do that. But then after that, we got to bring ourselves back down to earth with a Sir Richard Scully Munkle Skeptics review.
You're full of crap, and that's the nicest thing that I can say.
All right. So this I took an interesting angle on this, at least I think so. It's a little bit different. So I was giving a healthcare professional a ride home recently in my Uber, and she asked me what I was currently working on for the podcast, because I have placards in there, people are getting to know me by it. I told her I was writing this very episode about the black-eyed kids phenomenon. She wasn't familiar with the BEKs specifically, but she did have something to say about the scary people with blackened eyes. The knowledge she laid on me led me to this skeptics review and the potential debunking of at least some of the stories that have been reported in amongst the lore of the black-eyed kids. It certainly wouldn't address all of them, but it could certainly be used as an argument against the specifically paranormal angle in some. What am I blathering on about, you ask? I speak of the real medical phenomenon of black-eyed schizophrenia. Mm-hmm. You familiar with this, Moss?
I am not.
You're in that realm. I was wondering if you'd actually... It's really kind of obscure. This woman pulled it out like she's experienced this in real life. So the passenger I was speaking with had a history working in psych ward type environments. She explained to me that there are different levels of schizophrenia. Most people with it are safe enough to be around. They tend to respond to the typical medications, things like that. Generally, they're fine to work with in that capacity.
I concur.
And yeah, if you know what you're doing, Then there's the other level she told me about. The telltale sign of this level is the blackening of the eyes. I looked this up. This is real.
Because they're not sleeping.
Well, some schizophrenics' eyes will go all black. Mm-hmm. Not the whites like we see with the black-eyed kids, but the whole part of your eye that has color to it, just black.
I'm just shocked that I've not heard of this. I'm saddened if it's real. I'm greatly saddened with my.
It's real because here is how my AI assistant on the interwebs explained it to my stupid monkey brain. DuckDuckGo has actually really good AI assist. Like when you're searching for stuff, it'll for certain things, it's actually really good. But here's what it gave me on this. And there's a bunch of different pages and stuff, but this synopsized it very well. People with schizophrenia may exhibit dilated pupils, which can make their eyes appear very dark or black. This symptom is often associated with episodes of psychosis and can be a noticeable physical characteristic during such times. Darkened eyes during schizophrenic attacks resulting from changes in pupil size and increasing reactivity can reflect the brain's activity and emotional state. Additionally, visual symptoms such as hallucinations and involuntary eye movements are common in schizophrenia, potentially affecting how the eyes appear during episodes. So if you got totally blacked out eyes that are like twitching around all over the place, what might that do to people's perceptions looking at you? But carrying on, my passenger said that these patients were the ones she didn't want to be in the same room with. They were far more likely to do damage to those around them than your typical patient. She gave these black eyes credit for getting her to leave the psych ward entirely for other things. She's in a different kind of medicine now because she said specifically because of that. She's like, I'm out of here. I'm not working in psych wards anymore.
It's just odd that it's odd that I haven't come across it, but B, can I try to debunk it from a black-eyed kid standpoint, or do you want to?
Let me finish this, and then I'll let you debunk my debunking at the end.
Okay.
Because I love a good debunking of a debunking.
Yeah.
It's like a triple agent kind of situation.
Yep.
But this brings me to the following encounter story that is told along with other BEK lore. This would actually be a BEA, a black-eyed adult category, but it is included in Zachary Knowles' book, so, it kind of makes it canon, or however you want to think about it, as well as on a bunch of the websites that cover the BEK lore, a bunch of them that I was talking about earlier. But Zachary Knowles titled it The Girl Scout. So let's all hop. I'm going to do my own version of this, get through it real quick. So let's all hop in Maz's Wayback Machine and take a journey back to the 1960s.
Gilligan's Island?
Oh no, it is in the same time frame, I guess. Check out the last side trail for that, the upcoming side trail compilation if you're not on the Patreon. Patreon.com/MonsterLore.
It'll only be 3 hours, we promise.
A Girl Scout named Betty is pulling a little red wagon filled with boxes of cookies she is ever so desperate to sell to any sucker crossing her path. This is back in the day when kids were pushed out into the world to figure it out. Most of them did. Yeah. The rest we left behind.
Understood.
But as Betty is struggling down the sidewalk, wondering how and where to hawk her wares, she sees a car pull into a driveway across the street. A younger woman gets out of the driver's seat and starts helping a couple of seriously old, mostly feeble people out of the back seat. Old people, Betty thinks to herself. They're a bunch of suckers. I bet they'll buy some cookies.
Yeah.
I am, of course, putting words into Betty's brain, but her train of thought was on the same track, I'm sure. So Betty hurriedly pulls her wagon across the road before the old people can get away and rushes up to the old people all, "Would you like to buy some cookies?" And that's when they turn and look down at her. Their eyes and smiles all widened maniacally as they lean down to get a better look at Betty.
The hunter has become the hunted.
Yes. Quote, Betty froze in abject terror. Their eyes. She couldn't stop looking at their eyes. They were black, almost cavernous, like the time her older brother had pushed her doll's eyes back into its head. The couple kept leaning closer and closer to her face until she could feel their icy, pungent breath on her cheeks. Betty was terrified, but she couldn't move. They seemed to stare at her with those hollow eyes and continued to smile without saying a single word. Their faces were so close to hers they were almost touching. But Betty seemed paralyzed and helpless. She couldn't help but stare into the darkness of their eye sockets. The young woman that was with the couple grabbed them by the arms and pulled them back away from little Betty. She kept repeating, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry." And as she pulled the couple up the driveway towards the house, the couple meekly followed her, their backs to Betty. And here is another adult with black eyes potential schizophrenia connection story reported with BEK encounters on thoughtcatalog.com. I was riding the bus back home after work. It was about 1 a.m. I'm a security guard and often work odd hours. So I'm sitting there and this guy gets on, sits across from me. He is wearing a suit, had a briefcase, regular looking guy in his 20s. What struck me about him at first was that he was chewing a cigar, not smoking it. You can't smoke on the bus. So I was just looking at him while he stared out at the window and chewed his cigar, and all of a sudden he turned and looked at me. His eyes were pitch black, just as you described. My heart started beating like a mad MRFer and I felt my gorge rising. I was starting to panic, and I had no idea why. I was just pants-shittingly terrified of this guy. Then he grinned at me, and his teeth were all covered in tobacco bits and brown juice, the cigar clamped between them. I almost screamed, but instead I had the presence of mind to just get up and take the seat right behind the driver. I calmed down a bit after that, but I kept an eye on the guy. He ended up chatting with some girl that got on, and they were still talking when I got off. I later convinced myself he was just trolling me, having fun with a pair of contacts. Now I wonder. So in the first story, it seems all too likely that the woman driving the car and helping the two old people was probably some kind of a nurse, and those people were maybe some kind of patients. The whole schizophrenic theory.
Yep.
It's kind of likely there. Or at least, definitely possible. The next story with the guy in the bus, well, we've all ridden the bus a time or two, right, Moz?
Yep.
It can get pretty weird in there.
Oh, yeah.
Especially if you're in the right town at the right time.
Oh, yeah. Another one, ride the bus.
But that's my 2 cents on that subject. Of course, now I do look forward to what Moz, our master of psychology here in residence, you don't have any personal experience with that, but you said you had some debunking of your own to do. So what's your side there?
My side note would be super if we have a couple of adult things and maybe this connection, I'll look into it to see what I could come up with. And if this is a real thing, it might explain a couple of these stories as far as adult version. But schizophrenia onset is, 19 to 23 or 24. Like, it doesn't happen before that. And none of these kids are going to have any signs of schizophrenia. Even if you have the gene, it's dormant until a certain age. Then there's a psychotic break at some point. And it does not happen generally before 18.
Like, really ever? Like, or statistically never kind of thing? Like, it can happen, but it's so
rare. It would be very rare. I don't know what the earliest breaks would look like or be, but generally it's not the case. So.
That actually kind of backs up my level of debunking, because I was saying how it definitely applies more to the adult side.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily cover the whole, like, the entire eyeball being black.
Right. It just looks, you can see in certain lighting, you can see where people are going.
I can see why seeing a all black, in the middle, and then the eye twitching around. I could see that freaking you out if you see it in real life. But I don't think it really debunks the kids at your window or at your door.
Yeah.
But I do think it might take care of some of the adult ones, even the casino one. Like, people can kind of take on different personas with schizophrenia, right? Like take on totally different appearance kind of thing. Is that a thing?
Does catatonia is a thing? I mean, multiple personality, I think, is what you're getting at. Which is
that
maybe generally it's not a thing, but I had one in my office. I believe in multiple personality. I think is very rare, but they have different alters, and but you can definitely, as somebody, they act very differently. They're very upset, and if they're responding to hallucinations, they can definitely seem, but it doesn't, they're not, then it's not like an alter where they're acting totally different. That's more multiple personality, if that's what you're getting at.
Yeah. No, that's good clarification. Thank you. But that does it for my planned discussion of the moment. We're going to actually do some more in the side trail, where we're going to take in a little bit of the more tangential elements of this, maybe add a little bit more to the BEK lore.
A little more chupacabra next time.
But all my main theories, all the primary stories and things have been told. We'll be doing the smaller branches of the tree, as it were, in the side trail. Is there anything else you'd like to address before we adjourn to Wolfman Puck's Kitchen for our traditional beastly feast, Moss?
I would like to finish on chupacabra, and maybe chupacabra. I don't get to say that a lot in this podcast. It's because we haven't talked about chupacabra.
Well, you're the straight up monster guy. That's your episode whenever you want it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And now for Wolfman Puck, we can chupacabra.
Oh.
Yeah, there you go.
Wolfman Puck Scripted Culinary Corner.
Your entree, sir. Smells good.
All right, so I actually feel like I've been slacking a bit on my Wolfman Puck segments, kind of taking it easy on us.
Yeah.
In a way.
So win, though, because you're a jerk.
This week we're going to kick it old school and go dark and heavy.
Ooh.
So little trigger warning here, everybody. This is like episode 4 level stuff we're going here on the Wolfman Pucks, if you remember episode 4, Moz. Today's basket ingredient for our cryptidy feast is black-eyed kids. Stick that in your pot and cook it.
Already got it done. I just thought of it.
Damn it.
I already said, I think since the only thing they don't seem like is chupacabra, I'm making goat chops, because that's what they are. They're going to taste like goat. And I already made goats for the last episode, so I'm two-fering.
He's doing the callback.
I'm doppelgangering my goat chops. And I'm going to serve it with a 6-pack. Yeah. We're going to have 6 little kids sitting around. Going to get some goats out. We're going to get a 6-pack. And if the FBI agent's there and I hand those kids each of those beers, if I get arrested, we'll know they're really adults. I mean, they're really kids.
Does this count as your turn or no?
Yeah. That's all I got. Come on, man. This is what you do, and you do it well. I'm just trying to be you.
So what are we actually eating? We're getting chased by the cops? I got a little lost there.
We're just eating chupacabra because that's what they really are.
Okay.
Because they don't.
Well, how are you going to cook it, and what beer are you going to serve it with?
Goat chops and a 6-pack of black.
Yeah. A 6-pack of Becks.
Yeah. Six-packs. Yeah. With 6 kids
So you're
drinking
gonna
6
make-
beers. And
wait.
then when the FBI agent's there,
So are you feeding the kids then?
goat,
Because they're the
yeah.
chupacabra.
Because if they
so you're
won't
gonna-
eat it, they'll be like,
Oh, you're feeding the kids.
but here's
you're
the
supposed
thing.
to be eating the
we're
kids.
going
You
to
turn
learn
this all around.
We are going to learn so much from this because if the kids don't eat it, you're like, oh, you'll know they don't want to eat one of their own. So they're giving they're giving up the goat, so to speak. And 2, if the FBI agent's there and I
They're
get
giving up
arrested,
the goat sucker.
right? Then, but if I get arrested, it's because they are kids and I'm serving them Becks. But if they're really adults,
I'm pretty sure you should be arrested for this right now.
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
Can I kick your ass right now?
for what? I mean,
No,
honestly,
I mean in
if-
Wolfman Pucks. I'm gonna do the one.
Oh
I
yeah,
wrote.
because I was going to say,
mine's actually
generally, handing a black-eyed kid a beer is probably the only kids you could probably. That is not an issue, based on everything else going on with these kids.
Oh yeah, they're probably like 8,000 years old or something.
Yeah, exactly. They're from another dimension.
But I'm gonna stick with the planned assignment. Thank you very much, Moz.
So did I.
But I'm gonna start by capturing myself one of these impish little black-eyed daemons. I'm gonna gather up a supply of sacrificial, I guess let's call them lambs, for the sake of decorum. It's people. The lambs are people.
Soylent Lambs.
And you force feed the BEK all the life energy it can hold inside its soon grotesquely
making a crock pot out of this thing?
Yeah, I'm gonna make it a big swollen, not quite human body, just full of just energy
Jesus.
until it's
Yeah.
like
It's
leaking
cooking
out of its
itself.
orifices.
It's cooking itself.
Yeah, like kind of like a veal calf.
Yeah. Wait,
If
what?
that's not disturbing, then when they are just all nice and ripe and plump and full to bursting with all these tasty souls and life energies and whatnot, you throw them in the microwave for a few minutes to intensify the radiative spiciness of their plasma. Then you call in your new favorite friends, the jinn, to feast upon the little beastie, all plump with tasty life force plasma.
So I like it much better when you don't plan this.
That went dark. I warned you, dude.
Yeah.
But I'm serving this with a bottle of chilled Chunga from Kenya. Chunga is among the most dangerous alcohols known to man. Here is how it is described on theculturetrip.com. Deadly home-brewed moonshine made from millet, maize, and sorghum, which in 2010 was responsible for the deaths of over 100 people in Nairobi.
Wow.
The government introduced tougher regulation in an attempt to stamp out illegal manufacture, but this strong, cheap, and deadly brew is still available if you know where to look.
Yeah, there you go.
What do you think of that, Moz?
I like it.
Should we go find out where to look for that stuff? The Chunga?
But never hand a werewolf moonshine on another note. They don't like that
Especially Mexican moonshine.
stuff. Yeah.
That's a very Arizona reference. But that does it for me. Anything you want to add or subvert before we wrap this up here, Moss?
No, I think the Black Eyed Peas are going to remain.
And we've come full circle,
Can
ladies
I
and
make?
gentlemen.
Can I
We've
make?
come full circle.
Can I change mine to Black Eyed Pea dish?
Black Eyed Peas would be way better than Black Eyed Kids. You want to show up at my door with a big pot of Black Eyed Peas? I'm down.
Yeah,
I'm down.
I have a good recipe.
Or
for
the
that.
band too. If the band wants to come hang out, I'm also down.
There you go.
Any version of that is better than BEKs.
Yep, like
Or
two peas
BEAs.
in a pod. A pod person.
Yeah, the iPods.
There you go.
The iPods. You get it?
Yeah, I see what we did there.
and
The
there
Black
you go.
iPods.
And we have hit the right point of silliness for me to end the episode. All right, everybody, if you haven't hit those happy little fun buttons, whatever platform you're on yet, please do so before you go. We really appreciate it. If you got a little bit to spare and you want to support what we're doing here, our patreon.com/monsterlore tours, just $1 a month to get early access to all episodes and their connected side trails. You don't have to wait for the compilations to come out. Yeah. Well, I'm going to hope these kids don't show up at my door tonight. But until oh, geez, let's get the hell out of here. To all our fellow paranerdalists out there, until the next one, have a good one. Monster Lore Tour.
Wait, so mine wasn't official? You play it for yours? Like, what was mine then?
Here, I'll play another one for you. How's that? That good?
Wow. You played 2 for you is what you just did, but okay.
We share everything here, boss.
This has been a Shut Up production.